Welcome in. It is episode 18 of the St0ner Sports Radio podcast. Took a couple weeks off, had some illnesses, had some things going on, so we are now back at it. Mr. Murphy joining us once again for another fantastic episode. Lots to catch up on. We will go ahead and recap the bowl games. I know they were over a couple weeks ago, but we're gonna go over the ones that we picked and such, and then we'll touch on the sports book. We will pick up the transfer portal news and give you our NFL playoff predictions along with updated NBA standings. And that's what we are poised to do this episode. How are you doing, Mr. Murphy?
Doing good, bro. How you doing?
Doing good.
Mic check.
Dog wanted inside, so the dog goes inside. All right. Let's just jump right into it, right? There's nothing really much to not jump into. Let's get into these bowl game results. It was a very interesting season, and it ended off being very interesting for us regarding just kind of how our picks went and stuff. But let's go over some of these. Obviously, the ones that we've gotten done. Here we go.
What did we finish at on the Bowl Mania?
So yeah, results from that here. Let me pull that up real quick.
I think you were one ahead of me.
Yeah, it was something like that. I don't know if it's too long. I don't see it on here. But yeah, so overall, the picks went pretty well. I'm gonna try to pull it up here. I didn't get to see if they got rid of it or not. Yeah, they got rid of it. So the results from that are gone. It's been too long.
I think we were
but we were only one game apart on.
If I remember right, I think there was 43 games total, and we were. I think you were 20 and 23 or something like that, and then I was 19 and 20, something like that.
It wasn't bad.
Not bad at all.
It wasn't too bad. So let's talk about this. So, Kansas State played Alabama, and we kind of went back and forth on how that game would kind of end. I really thought that Kansas State was going to put up a fight. I'm not even going to act like like I didn't, because that was a big part of all this. And it didn't go well for Kansas State. They got wasn't this game wasn't even close. It was 21-10 at halftime, and then Alabama went on a 21-3 run in the third to kind of seal the deal. And it was the only pick you got right to end the season. So please expand on just kind of what you were seeing transpire in the Sugar Bowl.
I figured, of course, I mean, Alabama was already kind of hurt that they didn't make it to the playoffs. And then, Nick Saban had those guys fired up, like I was saying in the previous episode. So, I mean, it just kind of really shows you, I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, the difference between an SEC versus a Big 12 school. I mean, Kansas State is a good program, but I mean, when you can match them up against Bama, especially a fiery Bama, like it's just not really stopping any of that. It's just different athletes out there playing. So, I mean, it's literally what I expected. And hate to say I was right, but got that one nailed.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just exactly what you said. It was just better athletes, better talent, better team,
Yeah,
and Kansas State I think was still riding off that high of beating TCU in the Big 12 championship, and I think they kind of
yeah,
may have been a little overconfident going into that one, but that kind of sealed Alabama into possibly being in that discussion for maybe a better matchup um,
yeah,
in the playoff uh, than Ohio State was for Georgia. But we'll get into that in a minute. Let's touch on this TCU Michigan game. So you took Michigan in this one
yeah,
because you just didn't see TCU being able to really stop much of what Michigan does well, which is run the football and play good defense. Well, turnovers will hurt you, and Michigan fumbling on the 1 yard line and stuff like that, and throwing pick sixes and all the
yeah,
stuff that was very uncharacteristic of them through the season will put you in a bind. And even though they were
yeah.
put in a bind, Cole, this game still came down to the wire. Michigan
Hmm.
had a chance to lead a drive down the
Yeah,
field with under a minute to go, and obviously fourth down did not go well as strip sack caused the end of that game, and no chance to even heave a Hail Mary and give Michigan a chance. They lose that game 51-45. I picked TCU to win this game purely on my love for the Frogs, and I really thought that they were just kind of a team of destiny. It kind of had that feeling to it.
yeah.
But go ahead and just kind of explain what happened in Michigan this game.
I mean, you were definitely right. I don't know why I picked against the Frogs, but I mean, I just felt like, especially how Michigan came off the previous win, I just felt like they were locked and ready to go. And I thought the championship was like obviously their destiny to play Georgia, and then obviously had a lot of chances there in the game to win. And then, I mean, I think really TCU stepped up. I mean, coming off, I think they had a chip on their shoulder from that Big 12 loss. So uh, it was tough to see Michigan go out like that. But I mean, I honestly think they would have been a better matchup against Georgia in that championship. But I mean, TCU outplayed them that game. Michigan had a bad game, like you were saying, fumble, turnovers. You can't win football games whenever you're turning the ball over and then not converting when you should. So really, they just had a bad game. I think if they played again, Michigan would win. I think 9 times out of 10, Michigan wins that. But I mean, obviously TCU stepped up. So hats off to the Horned Frogs, but embarrassing, very embarrassing championship game that I know we're getting into.
Yeah, yeah, we'll touch on that, but yeah, for sure. I mean, I mean, you're probably right. I mean, 9 times out of 10, Michigan probably is a better team, and
Yeah,
and and this time it just like you said, too many shots into your own foot, and you kind of you fuck around, you find out, and they
yeah,
they fucked around just a little bit too much, and found out that coming back from a deficit like they had to do in order to try to flip the script. They just kind of dug themselves too much of a hole, and
yeah,
that's just kind of unfortunate for them because, like you said, very uncharacteristic of them to have those mistakes. It just kind of seemed like they weren't locked in, and like I said, I thought maybe they
mhm,
were going to take TCU lightly. I said they could easily look at TCU and go, cake. Let's focus on Georgia, and I think that
yeah,
might have been a little bit of that started. The reality started creeping in there late. But still, like I said, Michigan was still in this game. I mean, they
yeah,
made those mistakes and they were still in this game, and I think that kind of means more than the actual loss because we see the results of what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do, which everybody thought
yeah,
Michigan was going to do. What they didn't do, and we end up getting kind of a interesting blowout national championship
yeah.
game. But let's touch on the game that this one was close also. Ohio State and Georgia. Let's go over this. So Ohio State and we were both working this night and we were looking at each other like they look like they got this. I mean they were
Yeah.
up big. Um,
That was crazy.
they looked like the more talented team. They looked more locked in.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and then in the end, you miss a 50-yard field goal to win it. Um, you don't just miss
Can't do
it. I
that.
mean, you shanked the fuck
Shank.
out of it,
Yeah,
and did I mean once it left the foot, everybody in the place knew, yeah, that ain't going in. It wasn't like it hooked late. Like
yeah.
no, it just started off hooking. Like I mean, it was just like
It
well,
was a horrible.
GG's, and the big argument there is Georgia outscores Ohio State 18-3 in that fourth quarter. Um, you go into that fourth with a 15-point lead, you're feeling pretty good if you're Ohio State. I mean, everything's going your way. And I think this really hinges on the last kind of 3 plays that Ohio State ran to set up that 50-yard field goal because we both saw what happened. CJ Stroud takes off for 30 yards, puts you in like on the cusp of field goal range. And then what do? You're running on first down and get nowhere. You lose a yard.
Mm-hmm.
Second down, you throw a pass on a slant route that's well covered with a guy draped all over him, incomplete. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then on third down, you have CJ Stroud rolling out on a bootleg. And he
Mm-hmm.
has about 7 yards where he could have picked it up with his feet, but instead he
Yeah.
chucks it into the stands and just stops the clock on third down and out trots Noah Ruggles to try to win you the football game. I had a lot of problems with those plays because I felt like at that point Ohio State did not do enough for themselves to set them up for success.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that really kind of showed CJ Stroud's weakness because if you get those 7 yards, maybe that field goal has a chance. And it's going to
True.
be on the opposite hash. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go into that. But they had an opportunity here, and they
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of blew it. And
Big time.
I just want to know what your thoughts were on that ending sequence and just kind of what kind of led into that whole entire thing even transpiring in the first place.
Oh yeah, I knew this one was going to be close, even before the game even started. What was the spread on that one again?
Georgia was a 6-point favorite.
Yeah, so I remember from our previous episode, I knew that was going to be come down to the wire type of game, and this was Ohio State's game to win. They had so many chances, especially even coming down on the last drive. So I mean, Ohio State should have won this game and been in that championship game. So it was tough to see that, but I mean, Georgia should have played a lot better as well. They were slipping up a lot, and Ohio State was converting, but I mean, came down to it, and then you can't be a college kicker at a prestigious university and not be able to drill that. Like that's how you get to the NFL. I mean, Ohio State, even though they had to come back on that last drive and still had a chance, and even if Stroud would have gotten that extra yardage there to put him closer, he should have made it from where he was at. If you're a kicker at Ohio State University, you got to be able to drill those ice in your veins. Like you can't miss that. Like if you're going to a college like that, that means you're the best in the nation. So I know a bunch of kickers, maybe even OU's kicker would have made that. I mean, it's definitely hard, but if that's what you do, if that's your position, that's what you're training for, you got to be able to drill those 50 yarders. Like these NFL kickers are making like 60, 70 yarders now. So that's why they back the field goals up nowadays for PATs because they understand that obviously with weight training and everything, it's just easier to make field goals. But yeah, having a shank like that and losing, like I know he's took a lot of heat for that. But I mean, yeah, they should have gotten closer. But I mean, just in general, Ohio State should have converted more of that game and won. But I mean, of course, nobody expected Georgia to be that close. I mean, I expected them to at least win by 10, I think. So, I mean, Ohio State, just a disappointing season, of course.
Yeah.
But congrats to Georgia.
Yeah, and the other thing is you have to think about the fact that CJ Stroud, he had to play the whole entire fourth quarter and half of the third without Marvin Harrison Jr., who is having a
Yeah,
fantastic game. He
right.
gets knocked out with a call that was not targeting, but it looked like it could have been targeting. They didn't call it; they said it wasn't. But that would have put the ball, at the 2 yard line, and that probably would have sealed it. But
Yeah,
instead, they said it wasn't targeting. They forced Ohio State to kick a field goal, and that was the only 3 points they had in the fourth quarter. And so you can
yeah,
kind of go down and kind of, not exactly blame the loss of Marvin Harrison to the reason why they lost, because like you said, you had your chances, you just couldn't
a
seal
lot.
it. And I agree, a 50-yard field goal should not be a gimme, but it should be more makeable than what that was. Whatever the
That
fuck
was awful.
that kick was, it's got to be better. I mean, if
I
he
think
would have
we could have done
if
better.
if he would have hit the post, you get more respect than just being
Yeah,
10 yards to the left of anything.
at least a little off in
Yeah, I
weatherization. He
mean,
was
uh,
all the way off.
when I was walking towards the TV when they were lining it up, I was like, and once they snapped it and it left his foot, I just turned around because I was like, there's no hooking into the right, like there's no, it was done. It was
It was
I
awful.
was it was just so terrible of an attempt, and you hate to see games that are that good
Yeah.
come down to plays like that.
It
Uh,
almost looked like, when they do the Dr. Pepper challenge and like it's like make this field goal. It's like it was almost that bad of a
oh
kick. Like
yeah,
so, like
it
where
was.
do you kick field goals? Like why did that? how do you practice field goals all year long and you get to the most important field goal of the whole entire season and shank it that badly? I get that the pressure was on and his heart was probably pounding out of his chest, but that's why you practice for those moments. And
Hmm.
like I've been a kicker before, and I just know that you gotta step in there with confidence and have that and strike that ball off your foot in a way where it's only you and the field goal. Like he obviously let everything else around him uh get in his head because you don't kick a ball like that and be a college kicker. Like that was a kick that you see on a Dr. Pepper challenge. Like it was embarrassing.
Yeah, win your Chick-fil-A for a year type shit. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
like
it.
embarrassing.
Yeah, it was bad. But that was that. But the game overall very good, very entertaining to watch.
Oh yeah.
Not probably the result that should have happened,
Mhm.
considering where that game was headed. But
I swear Ohio State had that one. Like,
yeah, it really did look like that, and but part of me is like props to Georgia, right? Because
yeah,
you know you're getting everybody's best shot week in and week out because you're that
yeah,
team, and you fended off Missouri, you fended off Kentucky, and that's what I said. I said look at those wins and tell me that Ohio State doesn't have a chance. If those teams
yeah,
can keep this team from scoring,
yeah.
over 30 points, they win this ball game. Of course, 42. You allow that many, you're probably going to lose. Um, but they shouldn't have. I mean, that's the bottom line. Is you still were in a position, a reasonable position. It wasn't like he was trotting out there for a 59 yarder. I mean, if that was the case, I'm like, sure, shank it. Like
That's pretty far.
who's hitting a 59 yarder, but 49,
NFL
50.
kickers.
I mean, we see kickers consistently hit from 50
Oh yeah,
at the D1 college level. We see that, 52, 53. I mean, they make them, and so sure,
with
I wasn't
with
think
with yardage too,
yeah, with room to
with
spare.
carry.
Yeah, and it's not consistent. I mean, sure, they might go one of four, but they can get it
Yeah,
there, and it's more plot. It's closer than that was. I mean,
yeah,
if he, like I said, if he would have hit the post, or if it would have just hooked
yeah.
slightly, hey,
Slightly off.
I mean, you still missed it, but I mean, that was one of those where there was no
Might have
wait,
some
there was
might have
no
some death threats.
there was
Might
no
have some
waiting
death
to see
threats in
if
there
that one
though.
was good. There was no like, is it gonna squeak in? Like, maybe. Is the
He
wind
should
gonna
probably transfer.
is the wind gonna help him? Oh, we're in a dome. We're screwed. I mean, like it's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, it was bad. So, but hats off to Georgia. They got the job done, and that's how we got the national championship. But let's move on to game number 4 that we went over. USC and Tulane. Um,
Mhm.
so someone here said that this was laughable, and that this matchup should never happen in the history of college football. What are they thinking? This is ridiculous. I mean, there's no feasible way that this game is. I mean, you were expecting a national championship game type situation for this
Yeah,
game. You're like this is 69-10. Like this is
at
this is
least.
this is this is this is you have some of the best players in the Pac-12. Why on earth would you not be able to
Yeah.
finish this job? And well, the chickens came home to roost, and the Alex Grinch defense showed up, and not the good
Oh
one,
yeah, in
as
fashion.
uh, as Tulane gets a touchdown with 8 seconds to go. 46-45 gets the job done by a stick man, and Caleb Williams still threw for 462 yards. He threw the ball 52 times, 5 touchdowns.
Oh wow.
But the running back for Tulane, man, I mean, you've got to tackle the man. 17 carries for 205 yards and 4 tutties. I mean, Spears was running all over the place. I mean,
Yeah.
to Jay Spears just absolutely wrecking this USC defense that didn't even have players sitting out for this. Everybody was suited up for this game. Um, I mean, how does something like this happen?
This is awkward. I mean, I know what I said. I knew USC's defense was bad, and I knew Alex Grinch is an awful defensive coordinator. I didn't expect them to give up that many rushing yards, that many touchdowns, like against a Tulane team. Like they're a good team. I think I've been hating on them a little too much. Like they're solid, but the fact that Caleb Williams puts up those numbers and they still don't get the job done, like their defense is laughable. Like USC needs to get back into whoever their prior uh, defensive coordinator was when they were winning those national championships. call that guy up and get that defense back when they had Troy Polamalu and all those guys that were when USD's defense was legit. Like because the guys that they've been bringing in for the past decade, especially this year, they're so bad. They're so bad. They can't tackle. They don't know how to tackle. They arm tackle and then they can't cover. Like it was a very very bad defense, and I thought even with that bad defense, I thought they would at least be able to hold Tulane to under 30. Like I don't know. Like that would like especially with the numbers that you said Caleb Williams had, I'm surprised that did not get it done. Like that it really was crazy when I saw the final on that one because I did not see that one coming at all.
Yeah, the defensive coordinator back then was Norm Chow, and
They need Norm back.
he's the head coach for the Helvetic Guards of the American Football
Oh
League.
gosh.
So it's a
They
team
need that
that's
guy
it's
back.
he's in the Swedish football league. He's over there in Sweden, head coaching over
Okay.
there.
Good for him.
Yeah, so I mean, and he's
Kind
like
of sounds fun almost.
and he's almost 80, I feel like 80 years old, something like
Wow.
that. He was born in 1946. What was I making? 56,
Jeez.
66, 76, 86, 96,
Old.
2006, 2016. He's almost 80. He's like 74 or something like that. Um
That's awesome.
so I mean, they could definitely give him a call. I'm sure that if they offered him enough money, he probably would come back. But yeah, I mean, I think you said it. I mean, and the other thing is this is Tulane ends with a better record than USC. They're 12-2. USC falls to 11-3. But here's
Oh
the big thing
gosh.
for me. USC puts up 28 points in the first half. It was 28 to
Mm-hmm.
4. It was 28-14 at halftime.
Yeah.
And then USC only scored 17 points the rest of the game. So
Yeah.
I think Tulane's defense really stepped up because Tulane
Big
scored
time.
32 points in the second half, 16 in the third, and 16 in the fourth. They did what they needed to. They got a safety late. I mean, it was everything you could have wanted. If you were a Tulane fan that made the trip to the Cotton Bowl. Just a shocker. I mean, both of us picked USC to cover this. They were 2-point favorites, which
Yeah.
you and me were like free money, and
Yeah.
Tulane was like, ha, no.
Literally. I was
And
like,
but that's the joy of college football, right? You just never know. I mean,
yeah.
and you're right. Tulane has some studs. They've got some really talented guys on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is a little sussy, which makes me
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel disappointed in the fact that Caleb Williams is only able to muster 17 points in that second half because Tulane's defense is not, fantastic. It's really their offense that carried this
Yeah.
team to what they ended up being. It was the running back,
32 points in the second half.
quarterback combo. Yeah, after scoring only 14 in the first half. I mean, at halftime, if you were to tell Alex Grinch, you only allow 14 points in the first half, he would probably cream his pants. Because with the way Tulane is, their offense is designed and the talent that they've got, they're able to execute very well, and their offensive line is stellar.
Yeah.
Whenever a running back runs for over 200 yards, the offensive line is doing their job, and
Did
the
a
people
great
that
job.
aren't the people that weren't doing their job once again was the second and third level of this defense. The safeties can't tackle, the linebackers can't
I know.
tackle, and sure they're getting some help. I mean, Mason Cobb coming from Oklahoma State, that's huge for them. He'll probably get some run. They've got a
Mm-hmm.
couple other guys in the transfer portal defensively that'll help because I think they really kind of were lacking defensive talent, which doesn't really help Alex Grinch a lot, which is why they didn't fire him. They're keeping him obviously because they think that if he gets his guys in there, it'll change things. And I believe it will. I believe that we'll see an improved, USC defense because how can it get much worse? I mean, you're going to see improvement on paper, is what I'm saying, and so he'll
Yeah.
be able to hang his hat on that and be like, well, I did a better job than my first year because I got more guys. So that'll give him a little more time to be like, well, give me a couple more years, and once I get a full 4 years of recruiting down and I get all my guys in, then you can fire me if we suck. It's just a way of
Right.
kind of extending his stay out there and giving his, the administration an excuse not to fire him. Like, look at these numbers.
True.
I've improved. It's a very common business thing where it's like I come into a crap situation, I perform like crap, and then if I just don't perform that crappy ever again, then it just looks like I'm improving consistently. And
True.
but the thing is if they don't win games, right? Like if the defense is better but they're losing to teams like Oregon, they're losing to teams like Washington, they're losing to teams like, Colorado. I mean, which is all possible. And we'll get into that in a minute too. Um, Utah, yeah, you mean they got your
Mm-hmm.
goat not once but twice. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those things where it's like if that continues to happen, the improvement may not matter because what they want is a national championship back in Pasadena. So
Of course.
they're not going to allow him to just suck, for 3 years, even if he's like, I don't have all my guys. They're like, fuck that.
Yeah.
We've got a great team out here and you are wasting it, losing games, allowing 40 plus points to teams that have no business getting close to 30. And that's,
Literally.
and that was kind of the story this year because even in some of their wins, we went over it. Like they're barely beating teams and they're allowing 35 plus points a game. Like you're asking a lot of your offense, who has the best quarterback in college football and will
Mm-hmm.
continue to have it coming into next season. Um,
Yeah.
you have no excuse to ask him to have to put up 56 points. Go out there and throw 7 touchdowns a game, Caleb, and we might win. I mean, like what? Like I should be able to throw
Yeah.
maybe 4 or 5, and we should be able to walk out of here with a dub. Never happened. Barely beat
Nope.
Arizona. Had a shootout in Arizona. Had a shootout against Oregon State. Had a shootout. I mean, it was just it was like can we get a game where the other team doesn't score 30 points, and Alex Jones like, yeah, I don't think so. You know what I mean? It's just, but again,
Yeah.
maybe not his guys. But I knew when I watched that second Utah game where you
Mm-hmm.
had literally 4 Utah touchdowns where the guy broke 3 or more tackles on his way to the end zone. I was like, these
Yeah.
guys can't tackle. I was like, they're so screwed. When they played Tulane, they're screwed. And I didn't
Yeah.
think that they were screwed enough to lose the game, but I was like, there's no way it's not a shootout. Like I went in here like this is gonna be a close game. But I just thought USC, could they win by a field goal for sure? I thought they'd win by a touchdown. I think we both thought
At
that
least.
was just
Yeah. I had
at
them by
least
two. I had them
like
by two at
yeah,
least.
we thought worst case scenario they're winning this game by double digits. Like I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind. It might be, and that would be worst case scenario. No, this is worst case scenario. Losing this game, worst case scenario, and it happened. So I mean, that's rough. We were both wrong on that. I'll tip my hat to Tulane every day of the week. Good game. You deserved
Good
it.
job, Tulane.
Um, and that's that. But speaking of Utah, let's get into that game because once again, the wrong team won this game. Penn State
Mm-hmm.
wins the game 35-21, and
That was crazy.
we both picked Utah. But the reason why is because once again, Cameron Rising is out for a whole half of football.
Yeah.
He got injured last year against Ohio State in that Rose Bowl where they were winning. He gets hurt in this game where this game was close, 14-14 heading into halftime, and
Mm-hmm.
gets hurt in the third quarter and doesn't come back. I really think Utah's better than Penn State. And Penn State's
Honestly.
really milking this win. I mean, all over Twitter, oh, we're Rose Bowl champs. Come transfer here. We're
Right.
we're gonna we're gonna at least be in the conversation next season for sure. I mean, and I don't know about that. They might be.
Yeah.
But with all the transfer stuff going on, Wisconsin may be better. Some of
Mm-hmm.
some of these teams like Purdue might be better. I mean, you've got people transferring in. I mean, with Hudson Card going to Purdue and Nick Evers going to Wisconsin or whatever the heck's going on up there.
Your boy going to Ole Miss.
Yeah, but that doesn't really affect Penn State. But I mean, with all these transfers happening, the guarantee of you being, the third best team in the Big Ten, probably not something you can just kind of hang your hat on, right? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
there's too much turnover now in college football to where you can just be like, yeah, like we're gonna be a top 10 team preseason, which they might be based on this win. But I just
Mm-hmm.
I just really feel bad for Cam Rising because he just keeps getting hurt in these big games, and
Yeah.
and I think that hurts his draft stock and it hurts Utah as a whole because the backup isn't terrible, but you only scored 7 points the whole entire second half, and
Yeah.
I mean you needed him and he wasn't there, and I
He wasn't ready.
and so I mean sure I'll take that L. I mean we both took that L, but I think that the wrong team won that game. But congrats Penn State, milk it for all it's
Yeah.
worth. Good luck, because you're gonna have your work cut out for you next season, and I just don't think that they know that yet. Um,
Yeah. I definitely agree with that for sure. I just think as soon as the backup came in, as soon as Cam got hurt, he's a leader and he's been the guy the whole season. And so if they're winning, he's in. And then the backup just wasn't ready. I mean, 7 points in the second half. He just, he was like, "Oh, I'm going in." He just wasn't ready. He's not a bad quarterback, like you were saying. He just
no,
he just was not. He wasn't ready for the moment. And then
yeah.
Penn State was like, "Oh yeah, backup, starting defense, let's go."
Yeah, yeah, it's rough. I mean, it's a rough situation to be thrown into because it's like obviously like you're just seeing reps in practice and it's probably not full
Yeah,
speed and you're not having to deal with a bunch of other factors. Like it's a lot better to have like, you know, 2 or 3 games under your belt like Hudson Card did if you're going to be backing
yeah,
up, you know, and you got to get used to some of this stuff because I mean, you're just not going to be able to simulate it with practice. And
yeah. You
and I
can't
think
simulate
and and
A
that's
Penn
just, you
State
know, so
defense.
I didn't expect him to do well. And, you know, 7 points, you know, hats off. I think the defense might have scored that. I don't even remember. Um, but just, you know, that was that game. And, you know, it wasn't as entertaining as it probably could have been due to that.
Hmm.
And speaking of not entertaining, let's just go ahead and get into it. So Georgia TCU 65-7. This game was about as close as I am to Australia currently. I mean, it was bad, right? I mean, this thing unraveled so quickly. And early on, it looked like we might have a ball game. You know, 7-7.
Hmm.
You know, looked good. 10-7 for most of the second quarter, and then the floodgates just opened up. I mean, you had the long interception by Max Dugan who gets picked off by the safety by overthrowing Javante
Yeah,
Carter. You had another pick six that gets thrown the next series after that, and it just they just looked lost, and it just looked bad. Um,
yeah,
and the thing is those kind of mistakes, if they don't happen, I don't
hmm,
think that the snowball gets as big. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
definitely.
because the thing is once you start getting up that big and you're really loose and you're really feeling yourself, like things just start clicking.
Oh, definitely.
You're like, oh, these guys fucking suck. Like we're like you're I mean the video of them eating chicken wings in the middle of the third quarter, like that says it all.
Oh,
Like they're
man.
going over, they're eating
I didn't
chicken
even see
wings.
that.
Yeah, it was on Twitter. Like the Georgia player goes over there and the running back starts handing out chicken wings to the offensive
Oh,
lineman.
wow.
You know, just
That's
just
funny.
halfway through, they were eating. They were like we got this thing in the bag. Like we could put in
Yeah,
the
we're
fourth we
eating.
could put in the fourth stringers and we would win by 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that bad of a beating, and I mean people that are mad about this matchup, I just want you to shut the fuck up. Because
True.
here's the thing is is like we said earlier, you had a chance for this not to happen. What has to
True.
happen? Michigan has to take care of business. Ohio State takes care of business. If that happens, we're talking about probably one of the best national championships of all time between a rematch between Ohio State and Michigan.
A
I
fucking
mean,
Big Ten matchup. That's sick.
that was worst case scenario for the college football playoff because that's what they were like trying to avoid. And thank God for TCU or whatever. But we know that this should have been TCU Ohio State. And I feel
Yeah,
like that game would have been more competitive than this. I feel
definitely.
like Michigan, Georgia, more competitive than this.
Would have been a lot more competitive.
But this is why you play these games. I mean,
This is
when,
why they're going to a 12-team playoff.
yeah, when you expand this to 12, this is still gonna happen. Like you have to
Yeah.
understand, this is still plausible. You could,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, so you ask an 8 seed, right? So here's my question: if you were to do it this year, right, and we've looked at this, in episodes past for brief moments, but now that it's
Hmm.
final, now that this is the end, final rankings, let's look
Hmm.
at this and
The 12-team playoff.
let's let the people know kind of um
It would have been different for sure.
so here's how it would have looked. And this is from a little while ago, so it's kind of hard to do it now, but um take a look here.
And I think the first 4 teams got a bye, and then you'll have the other 8 matched up against each other
Yeah.
playing
So
that other
here's
one before.
yeah. So the first 4 would get a bye, like you said. So let's take a look at this. So these are the final rankings. We'll go AP top 25 because that's kind of what people go off of. So
Right.
so the first 4 teams getting a bye: Georgia, TCU, Michigan, Ohio State. Right, like that.
Yeah.
That Ohio State's still 4, Michigan's still 3, and obviously the
Hmm.
loser of the national championship is 2. Georgia's 1. I mean it's. I mean that's just Michigan just dropped a spot from 2 to 3 from losing to TCU, and that's just kind of how it went. Um, so those teams get a bye. So then you have Alabama, who would be playing uh, USC.
Hmm.
So Alabama, we play USC. Great matchup. Have
And
no
I
problems
love
with
that
that.
matchup. I love that
Um,
matchup.
the second one would be um, Tennessee playing Florida State.
Another good matchup.
Um, then you would have Penn State
Hmm.
playing Utah still,
Okay,
which
still same matchup
if
there.
everyone's healthy, good matchup. And then you would have Washington playing Tulane, which if Tulane can give USC a good game, they'll give Washington a good game. Um,
Of course.
so that would be the matchups, right?
Hmm.
So you're telling me that if Alabama beats USC, right,
Yeah.
and then they have to go and play, you know, either Tennessee or Florida State or whoever, you're telling me they can't make it to that scenario. You're telling me that USC couldn't rip off 3 games in a row. I mean, you're telling me that all these teams, probably except for Tulane, could probably and maybe Penn State could rip off 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
I think that that's definitely plausible. Um.
It's
Uh.
definitely gonna change. It's definitely gonna change everything once they do that 12 team playoff, because you're gonna see some upsets. You're gonna see some teams that think they got the win and didn't really prepare and then end up winning. So it's gonna be a lot different. I'm glad that they're finally transitioning to that,
Yeah.
because a 14 playoff is just, it's like one plays four, two plays three, and then it's just, I don't really, it's not enough matchups, especially come playoff time. Like what playoff bracket do you see that has just four people in it? It's just not a good bracket.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think I got all those right. So yeah, all those matchups are right. Um.
Yeah,
And what would happen is you would have, like I said, the first 4 teams get a bye.
right.
So what we're looking at now is, so the winner of the 5-12 game, which is the USC Alabama game, they would then play uh, the 4 seed, which would be uh, Ohio State.
Should
So
have
you're
been on
so
Ohio State. Yeah.
Alabama would have to play USC, then Ohio State, and then
Hmm.
they would get um, and then they would still have to play another game against either Georgia or uh, the winner of uh, the Penn State or the Washington Tulane game. So probably Washington. So you get Washington probably playing Georgia. Then you would have to.
Hmm.
Then it would be Alabama and Georgia for a chance to go to the national title, which I
Yeah,
don't think anybody would have had a problem with.
that's perfect.
Um,
That's what everybody
and
wants to see.
and so on the other side, though, you have the winner of the 6-11 matchup, which is Tennessee and Florida State. So you probably have Tennessee, and
Tennessee
they would be
there,
and they would be playing, um, they would be playing Michigan. So
Michigan. Yeah,
Tennessee
you got
playing
Michigan there,
Michigan, good
and I
matchup,
like that
no
matchup too.
problem with that. Tennessee and Michigan, good matchup. Um, and then the winner of that Tennessee Michigan game would then play the winner of the 7-10 matchup, which would be Penn State and Utah. So Utah probably, and
Yeah,
Utah um, would have to play TCU. So it'd be Utah versus TCU for a
TCU.
chance to play either Tennessee or Michigan.
Yeah,
So you
so that's
pro
a
so if
lot better playoff right
and
there.
if Hooker's healthy, I probably pick Tennessee to beat Michigan. So then you would
Okay.
have either Tennessee playing TCU or Utah, which
Yeah,
probably TCU. So you'd have TCU and Tennessee, and then that winner would play the winner of Alabama and Georgia.
that's a
So I
lot,
mean,
lot,
so
lot
so
better
but here's the
breakdown.
thing: is you could still have TCU in that game against Georgia. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Like it's still. I
it would
mean,
still be that matchup.
even if it was 12 team, you're probably still having a possibility of the matchup not being great because Georgia already took care of business against Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
So if Tennessee beats TCU, then that's then you still are going with a rematch where Tennessee is not going to be favored. So I mean,
Hmm.
and you're telling me that gets better if Michigan's there, maybe, but we already saw what happened when TCU plays Michigan, and TCU beat them. So I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where hypothetically,
Hmm.
there's no escaping the possibility of having, a 3 seed playing a 1 seed in the national championship, even with a 12-team expanded playoff. You're still
Yeah.
having that situation. So for everybody that was screaming at their TV, this should never happen. This is terrible. I mean,
That's
this
all
is going to
everybody said.
continue to happen. This is going to happen. You're going to get mismatches like this because when you have a tournament, not everything goes chalk. And I think that people really thought that this was going to be a Georgia Michigan battle, and I don't have any problems with people thinking that going in, but don't give me this BS about how TCU didn't belong to be there. They earned their way in there.
They definitely earned it. They definitely earned that.
So I think that people crying about that really don't know what they're in store for once this expands, because it's going to be more
Yeah.
of the same, being able to be possible and not like, oh, this is fucking unfeasible. Like, there's no fucking way, man. Like, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
you can win 3 games in a row and get there. And especially
Yeah.
like in this scenario, obviously TCU has the bye. So it's like that helps you because you only have to play 2 games. But there's
Yeah.
nothing that says Utah couldn't beat TCU and play, Tennessee, Utah, Tennessee. You think Utah would have fared much better against Georgia?
Yeah.
If
I mean, not
and,
really.
and in this scenario, if Cam Rising gets hurt again in the whole second half, I mean, you're probably looking at 65-7. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it's not like it would have been avoided. Like, I mean, and it's not like, I mean, sure, the Tennessee game probably would have been closer, but let's hypothesize that Hooker isn't there because he tore his ACL. So you're gonna roll into this tournament with a backup quarterback in the first place. I mean,
Mhm.
in this hypothetical, if he's hurt, you're going to be very lucky if you get past that first round game against against Florida State.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if the backup for Tennessee looked decent, but I mean, like, are you good enough to
Yeah.
beat the starters of Florida State? Maybe. I mean, OU wasn't, but that game was, it had a lot of components to it, and we already talked about
Yeah.
that in the last episode. But you get what I'm saying. It's completely possible
Right.
for this to happen again. So don't get too comfortable, people that are yelling about the college football playoff and firing people and stuff like that. Ridiculous. I think that this is what we signed up for.
Mhm.
When you didn't put Alabama in and you kept TCU in, this is what you signed up for. And there was
Mhm.
no way they were going to put Alabama in. And I'm tired of people making that
With 2
argument too.
losses.
2 losses.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we all know that they're the more
Can't go in
talented
over
team,
one.
numbers
Yeah.
are numbers. Like, I mean, you didn't get it done against LSU. That's a terrible loss. I mean, like, that's
Yeah.
and LSU got absolutely destroyed. I mean, I mean, I mean, in the SEC championship game, it wasn't close, and then they whooped up on Purdue 63-7. But that's Purdue. I mean, that was a terrible matchup. I didn't like that. It didn't pique my interest when it was
Yeah.
released, so I wasn't really surprised about it going downhill pretty quick. But that's kind of our bowl recap. In this end of the season numbers here for you, college football wise against the spread. I finished 46-34, 12 games above 500. Cole ends up being 38-42, so only 4 games below 500. Not terrible for your
Not
first
too
year picking
bad.
against the
Not
spread.
too
So,
bad.
so I mean, you're still making money with me. You didn't with Cole, but that's okay because you got the experience. Um,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it can only get better from here. Once you start to feel out kind of how these things go, and you take, I think I definitely took more risks than he did this season. I definitely took more upset picks, and
Yeah.
most of
I
them
was pretty
ended up
standard.
being good enough to cover the spread. They didn't win outright like I had predicted for the most part. I'm like, oh, this team's going to win. But they covered the spread about 60% of the time. When I picked underdogs, they still kept the game within the margin of the spread. So you were still making money if you chose that team against the spread. They just weren't winning outright. Which it happens. That's the joy of the spread. It gives you kind of that wiggle room to be like, even if I lose by 3, I still didn't lose by 14 or whatever. I mean, it's one of
Yeah.
those. So
I had a lot of them where I picked the right winner, but my spread was off, so
yeah, and that's
it
true too.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if we were doing just straight up picks, I think all of our numbers would be a little bit better. But the thing is
Mhm.
that's what makes it competitive. That's what makes
I didn't get the spread.
that's what makes you have to be a little bit of a thinker. And this week's not going to get any easier because we got just NFL playoff games to do. So it's
Yeah.
going to be only 4 picks. So not a lot of room for error for us.
I have one more
Um,
thing to say on that
yeah, go
national
ahead. Go ahead.
championship game. I was gonna ask, do you think, because I think the moment was too big for TCU. I think their eyes just got a little too wide, and they just were they weren't really they never really thought, even at the beginning of the season, they were gonna be there. I was gonna ask, do you think that the moment was too big, or do you think that Georgia was just a better team and was more prepared?
I think it is kind of a little bit of like they hadn't been in that situation before.
Yeah,
When you're Georgia and you've been in this conversation for like 3 years in a row,
yeah,
you're
and won it last year.
yeah. I mean, you have that experience. There's no moment that seems too big. Now, maybe some of the freshmen for Georgia or sophomores might feel that way because they might not have played a lot as a freshman, and they
Mhm.
may feel that way. But there's so many, you know, upperclassmen that I think that kind of,
Stinson did it.
I mean, he's ancient. I mean, you've got a rock like that. Max Duggan's a good guy, but he ain't 29 years old. I mean, I mean, it's one of those things where it was partly that, but I think it was also like TCU hadn't played a defense this good in the Big 12. Which defenses
All
that
year.
that, that
Yeah,
there was they were the best defense in the country. And so
yeah.
when Max Duggan is only a yard off of a pass deep down the middle of the field, instead of it
Mhm.
being an incompletion, it's a pick because
Pick
that's how
off, yeah.
good that safety is compared to the safeties in the Big 12. Like in the Big 12,
Very
that
true.
safety's probably not catching that pick. He's probably dropping it
No,
or
yeah.
going for a pass
Over the
breakup.
head.
Yeah, I mean it's not going to be as dangerous as and I think it just shocked him. And then obviously the pick six was terrible. That's
Yeah.
just one of those where you gotta. It was one of those where he just didn't even see the guy, and I don't know how you don't, but I mean he it's just one of those things where those kind of mistakes that are uncharacteristic, you can't make them against teams that
Mhm.
are that good. I don't think there was any doubt that TCU knew Georgia was that good. I think it was one of those things where it's like, well, you know, our offense is still good. Like,
Mhm.
they until those mistakes happened, the game didn't get out of hand. And I think that they would have had to play mistake-free football to be in this game. And when I say be in
True.
this game, keep it within 17 points. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, because once Georgia realized, like, oh, we've got this, like we know what they're
Mhm.
doing, and then once they got behind, they were like, they're gonna have to throw the football. It makes calling the defense super easy because you're like, they're not gonna
Cover
be
3, 4.
running it a bunch. I mean, because they need as much clock as they can get, so they'd rather have incompletions than 2 yard runs up
Yeah.
the middle. So you start dropping six, and
Yeah.
it's like where are you gonna put the football? Like, good luck. I mean, like
Yeah.
and
Even
by
with
the
a good
time you
quarterback like
find
Max
somebody,
Duggan.
you've got a defensive lineman dragging it down. I mean, he got sacked like 85 billion times. I mean, at
Yeah.
7 or 8, something like that. Just stuff that you don't see in the Big 12. We just don't have those kind of athletes in
The
that conference
difference,
to
SEC is
simulate that at
hard.
all. You might have two guys on the defensive line that could possibly start for Georgia on a team that you play on a week in, week out basis in the Big 12. And I'm saying taking like, 10 to 12 snaps and a half, big boys. I mean,
Mhm.
and there's not a lot. I'm saying maybe one or two. Maybe and Georgia's got 7. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's just kind of the reality. I mean,
Respect.
you're going against the closest thing to an NFL defense you are going to see.
Yeah.
And and you know, 7 of those guys on there are going to go pro. I mean, you
Mhm.
don't see that on any other team in the
Yeah.
country except for maybe Alabama, maybe maybe Michigan, but I just it's not like
Ohio
anything that
State.
Ohio State. But I mean,
Yeah.
right now it's peanuts compared to what Georgia's got. I mean, Ohio State might have 4, Alabama might
Mhm.
have 5. These motherfuckers have like 8 guys that are going to start on Sundays, not backing
Yeah.
up starting
They're
on
getting
Sundays.
drafted.
They're
They're
getting
getting
drafted in
drafted
the
this year.
first round. I mean, and if
Yeah.
not them, the SEC as a whole, you're going to have tons of SEC players in the first round. You had tons last year. You had like 7 out of the first 10 picks were guys from the SEC last season. Something
SEC. Yep.
ridiculous. And so to think
That's
that
the difference.
but it's not. But I'm saying is like TCU didn't know that's not what they're running into. But I don't
Yeah.
think they realize the consequences of if we turn the ball over here, if something happens, like they couldn't stop them. And I really thought the
Yeah. It got
defense
out
was
of
going to
hand.
stand up a little bit better. I really thought TCU's defense was going to be okay.
I
I
didn't
was
think they're gonna let
no,
65.
not in my wildest dreams. I was like maybe 40. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean
I was
that
thinking somewhere 40, but
but when I
65?
yeah, but when I say 40, I'm expecting TCU to put up 30. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean,
I was seeing like a 40, 42, 27. I was thinking somewhere in there at least,
Yeah,
but not 65 to
no,
7.
no,
That
just
was awful.
I mean, if you played this game 10 times, like you said against the Michigan, like maybe Michigan wins that game 9 times.
Mhm.
If you played this game 10 times, TCU wins maybe one.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally.
and that would be with playing flawless football and
No
Georgia
errors,
making uncharacteristic
having an
mistakes,
off game.
fumbles,
Yeah,
interceptions. I mean, mistakes, and and the thing is Georgia could not have played a cleaner game, and TCU could not have played a more messy game. And for the first
exactly.
time in like 7 weeks, the defense just couldn't hack it. Couldn't hack it.
Yeah,
And
true.
the biggest thing is when I was watching this game, because I watched the whole thing and I commentated the
Yeah,
whole thing on my Twitch channel. And the biggest thing is it wasn't like TCU's defenders weren't covering those wide receivers. They
yeah,
were all over them. And Stinson Bennett was like, oh, a hole the size of a donut. Let me just fit that in there. I mean,
yeah.
there were more tight, close catches in that game. And in the Big 12, I don't know if those receivers are catching those things, man. I mean,
Hmm.
because they just don't have the hands. I mean, Bowers, the tight end, is out there wide open. I mean, I'm just
Hmm.
like, how do you lose a guy that's 6'7"? I mean, the dude is a basketball player out there playing
Yeah,
tight end, and you're just letting him with no one in a 10-yard radius around the dude. Like, I mean, it was just like they were lost. I mean, they had so many weapons out there that it was like it didn't matter if they were double covering somebody. Somebody's gonna make a play, so they never did do any of that. They never doubled. It was all people on an island, 1-on-1, and they were in position to make plays. It's just the
yeah.
wide receivers held onto the football, and they
Hmm.
just couldn't. They couldn't knock it out. I mean, they're riding their back, they're grabbing, they're doing things that would prevent somebody from catching these really perfectly thrown footballs where they really can't be thrown anywhere else. And I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but I mean, I don't think Stetson Bennett's a first round quarterback guy, but someone's going to be stupid enough to draft that man in the first round. I guarantee you, someone is going to be stupid enough to pull the trigger. And and
you think
and
someone's grabbing Stinson first round?
late first round. I mean,
Wow.
someone's going to take a chance on this guy, and even if he is 4 years older than Joe Burrow, even if he is 4 years older than some of these quarterbacks that are starting right now.
Can't
If
get worse than David Mills.
Yeah, I mean Houston,
Yeah,
I know you've got a top 5 pick, but I mean like if you do it, I'm not gonna be shook. I'm gonna be like, fine, fine, put him in because the thing is he's gonna put you right back in the top 5 for the draft next year, and you can probably get Caleb Williams or somebody. I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, you could
something
take
like
him. I
that.
don't know if he's changing a franchise, but I mean, could he be Ryan Fitzpatrick good? Could he come in relief and give
He reminds
somebody
me
some
of like a
reps?
he reminds me of like a Taylor Heineke type of guy.
And Taylor Heineke wins football games.
Yeah,
And that's
I think
and
Stinson Bennett could too. If Stinson Bennett had the right weapons in the league, he would. I think he's a backup quarterback just in general. But I think say your starter goes out. Say he's on a team like I don't know. Let's just say he's on the Cardinals and he's backing up Kyler, and then you know how Kyler Murray went down this year. I think if he's a backup quarterback in general, but I think if he's a Taylor Heineke that could step in there and he's got the weapons, he's got DeAndre Hopkins, he's got Marquise Brown. He's a guy that if you get him plugged in with the right guys, just like he did at Georgia, he won football games because he had the guys. I think if you put him with an NFL team that has some established receivers, I think he could win some football games. So I think you are right with that.
well,
Somebody
imagine
should
if
pick him up.
imagine if he was where Brock Purdy's at.
Yeah, or but he's a Brock Purdy too.
If Stetson Bennett is way better than Brock Purdy, I'll go ahead and say it. If you put him
Yeah,
right now on the 49ers, you're winning the Super Bowl this season. I mean that I'm saying that right now because Brock Purdy doesn't have to do anything crazy. They're not asking
yeah,
Brock
just
Purdy to throw 35
just
times a game. They've got a
yeah.
huge running game. The defense is great.
McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, your defense is phenomenal. You
Yeah,
got the weapons.
you're Alex Smith could be playing quarterback for the 49ers again and they are going to the Super Bowl.
I'm
I mean
dead.
I mean that they're using one of so at Iowa State, I always thought Brock Purdy was kind of a game manager type guy. Like you're not asking him to do a whole lot. He puts up good numbers because he's got good wide receivers. The defense was good while he was there at Iowa State. And sure, they had a disappointing senior season for him and Brees Hall. They
Hmm.
didn't do what we thought they were going to do. And injuries had a lot to do with that and stuff, but still, um, you know, overall in his career, they never asked him to do a shit ton. They never
Mm-hmm.
asked him to throw 45 times a game or anything like these OSU, OU, Texas quarterbacks, Texas Tech. I mean, they're throwing the ball 40 times a game. I mean, no one was
At
asking
least.
him to do that because you had Brees Hall and you had a good defense. And now he's somewhere
Yeah.
where you got Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and a good defense. You really think you're not going to
Yeah.
have success? That's all he's done his career is be that guy. Sure, I could pick up a
Yeah.
3rd and 13 because I do play action, and even though it's 3rd and 13, these corners and safeties are still, not going because they're like, well, maybe he's going to delay handoff and they're going to get 13 up
Mm-hmm.
the middle. I mean, because their running game is so good that you're just the passes he's making, guys aren't really even covered that much. He maybe throws
Yeah.
2 or 3 balls to guys that are kind of draped over him, and sometimes George Kittle comes down with it. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
somebody comes down with it because they're just that good. But for the most part, he's not putting the ball in situations where the wide receiver doesn't have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Mr. Irrelevant. Mr.
yes.
Irrelevant.
I mean, I'm telling people right now, he could be on a Tom Brady trajectory
Mm-hmm.
because you look at Tom when he came into that Super Bowl when Drew Bledsoe got hurt back in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought he was going to quarterback them to a win against Kurt Warner and the Rams. The
Definitely
best
not.
show on turf.
No one knew about him.
Marshall Falk and Kurt Warner putting up arena football style numbers against
Yeah.
90% of the NFL. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it only is fitting that Bill Belichick would put it into that. But the thing is
Yeah.
it's like, you know, Brock Purdy is Tom Brady year one right now. Now the thing,
2.0.
the big difference though is if the 49ers win the Super Bowl, right? And people go, look at Brock Purdy, the only thing I can say is, well, Nick Foles did it too, and
True.
and it didn't really pan out for Nick the way it panned out for Tom Brady. But I'm
Yeah.
not. But the thing
He
is,
fell off after the next couple of
yeah,
years.
he wasn't put in the same good situation that he was in Philly at particularly that year, because we all know what
Yeah.
happens after you win a Super Bowl. Everybody wants to get paid more, and so you got to let more guys go because you can't. They don't have the cap room. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and they start using that. Well, I'm a Super Bowl champion now, so I deserve to get a pay raise. And most of the time you have that pay raise already in your contract if you're a good enough player. Like, well, if you win the Super Bowl, you get this, bonus or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, they all get
it's
incentives, I think, if they
yeah,
win the
there's
Super Bowl.
incentives in every contract, but if you're a really good player, you're like guaranteed those incentives. If you're like a third string or scout team, I don't know if that's in your contract because you
Yeah.
might get a little one, but you're not going to get one where some of these players get a big head and they go, I deserve, like a $500,000 increase in my annual salary. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's those kind of guys that are like second string guys or your special team guys that usually move on to other teams that can afford them because oh, we really made the difference, because we give the team depth, and that's true. Depth is a huge part of football in general. If you don't have depth and you've only got one line of guys that's really good, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
True.
and so for Brock Purdy, it's like if he stays in San Francisco, though, does he even start? That's the question. Because the thing with
Let's
Tom
start
Brady
Trey
is
Lance.
the thing with Tom Brady is Drew Bledsoe retired after that. There was no like
Yeah.
I'm going to play again.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the big thing was we kind of knew it was over for Drew.
Yeah. As soon
And
as that one was
and they just decided to kind of go with Tom because he had achieved that, and they thought, well, we can, groom him the way, the Patriot way or whatever, maybe, and the defense was so good. Again, you weren't asking for Tom to put up 40 points a game early on in his career. You needed to put up 24 or 21, and you could still get a win because the defense, with Ty Law and all those boys, were good. Teddy Bruschi, all those guys.
Yeah, they had a good defense.
I mean, it was a really good defense, and then it just continued with Bill Belichick drafting these no-name players, and they would just fit the system and plug and
Exactly.
play. I mean, like, who the hell is this dude? And the next thing you know, Tom Brady's ripping off Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. I mean, it was just it was crazy.
Tom Brady got it done back in 15 with Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, and Chris Hogan, and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah,
that was the offense.
I mean, and that speaks volumes to what he grew into. And what I'm saying right now is, if Brock Purdy was guaranteed to start for the rest of his career in San Francisco, which obviously is up for grabs because you still got Jimmy G and you still got Trey Lance.
Yeah, what's up with Trey Lance? That's a real question.
I mean, obviously injuries. I mean that's the big thing. But I mean, the thing is if
are they going to give the job back to him even if Purdy pulls us out this year?
That's what I'm saying. Like this
Good
definitely
question.
would help him. But if it
Yeah.
doesn't give him the starting job, is he going to want to go somewhere that's willing to give him enough money to be that guy?
Yeah.
And
Definitely a good backup. Definitely a good backup.
yeah, and and I don't know if that's. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, he's more on a trajectory towards Tom Brady than any other backup or fill-in has been, because he's got the
Yeah.
best chance to pull this off,
Hmm.
and it's not even really close right now.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of my perspective on that. I think that's, I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at as far as that goes.
That's true.
So let's talk about this. We'll do these real quick because they need to be talked about. So locks of the week. We're kind of skipping around here, but it's NFL related, so we'll keep it NFL related. So over the weekend, these are from week 17. So they were a couple weeks ago. Your first pick, you had Kansas City minus the 12.5 against the Denver Broncos. It was a little bit harder than you would have liked for the Chiefs. Oh no, yeah, I am looking at the right one. Where is it at?
I'm sorry, I forget the end on that one.
Wait a minute, week 16. Because I see it might have been the Monday night. Let's see here. Yeah, Broncos Rams. This was from Christmas.
Hmm.
So this was right before. This was a Sunday game. Um, and the no, it said Kansas City and Denver. That's L.A. and Denver. Where is this game at?
I know KC won that one for sure.
Kansas City minus 12.5 against Denver. Where the hell is it? There it is.
I just
There it is. The Chiefs won 27-24.
so it's close. It was close. It was close.
The game was close, but the Chiefs got the win. So that one was a busto gonzo. A
Mhm.
whiff on that one. You had Alabama minus the 4.5 against Kansas State. That was a winner. And you
Yeah.
had the 49ers minus 9 against Las Vegas, the Raiders, and they only won by 3, 37 to
That was close as
34.
well.
So you went 1-2. You're now 16-23 on the year. Or no, sorry, you're 17-25 on the year. Excuse me, 17 and
Not too bad.
25. On my side, I had the Jags minus 3 against the Houston Texans. They win 31-3. That game was never close. I had Seattle plus the 2 against the Jets, and that was an outright winner as the Seahawks got the win 23-6. And then I had USC minus 2 against Tulane. That was a loss. So I went 2-1, and I am now officially at 500 at 21 and
There you go.
21. So
Not bad.
not bad. But that's how those have gone so far. So we got more to do this week. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and then we'll talk a little bit about the transfer portal and stuff here after that. So we got 4 games this weekend. NFL wise, first one on the board here is
Exciting.
is
We're ready for
tomorrow
this.
on Saturday. You've got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
You should know
So
where I'm going with this one.
so obviously we didn't cover the wild card weekend.
Yeah.
We
Missed that
didn't.
one.
So
I
we'll
would have
just
been
give,
off too.
yeah,
I would have been way off.
yeah. We would have not done well. 49ers beat the Seahawks 41-23. Jags
Yeah.
come back from 27 down to beat the Chargers 31-30.
I would have got that 49ers right. I would have got the Chargers game wrong. I
Yep,
was
same.
going Chargers for
Same.
sure. We would have got that wrong.
Bills beat the Dolphins 34-31. I would have got
I had
that
the
wrong.
Bills.
I would have.
You were going Dolphins?
No. But I think that the Bills would have covered
the
by the
coverage.
10. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
were
yeah.
double-digit favorites and they
That
only
was
won by
close.
3.
Yeah.
I think we would have been wrong on that.
Yeah. Yep.
The Giants beat the Vikings. I would have been wrong on that.
I would have been off on that one as well. I was going Vikings for sure.
Yeah, 31-24. Giants beat the Vikings on the road. And then a close game with Huntley as the backup quarterback to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Lamar didn't even travel with the team, which kind of bodes
Hmm.
not very well as far as him staying in Baltimore.
I had
Uh,
Cincy. I had
Bengals
Cincy.
got the win 24-17. I don't know what the spread was, but I'm sure it was probably higher than 7, so I probably would have got that
Yeah.
wrong. Um, and then
And
Cowboys
then
and
Bucks.
Buccaneers,
Yeah.
kind of the
I was
shocker
going
for me.
Bucks. I was going
Yeah,
Bucks.
after week 1, when the Bucks kind of put it on the Cowboys, it kind of reversed roles, and the Cowboys put it on the Buccaneers 31-14. Um,
I just
Tom,
didn't see Tom Brady. I didn't see Tom Brady coming back for a year that he should have been retired and going out in the first round. Like it's just not what I was expecting at
well,
all.
he'll be back. So
Especially,
yeah,
oh yeah, he's coming
yeah,
back.
he won't be back in Tampa Bay, but he'll be back.
Oh
Um,
really?
and I mean, because he threw for 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, and
Hmm.
he threw the ball 66 times. So they were
Hmm.
kind of leaning on Tom a little bit because that run game is non-existent for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So that kind of really factored into what they were able to do offensively, and I think Dallas's defense has only improved since week 1. So I think that they kind of just they didn't get the best. Um, Dallas defense in that week 1, and I think they were able to take advantage of that. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was wild card weekend. So let's go over this. So Jags playing Kansas City. Kansas City is a 9-point favorite. A lot of people like the Jags in this one. Um, they do. They're not joking. They really think that.
Yeah. I know. I know they're in
And
it.
Trevor Lawrence is 37-0 on Saturdays.
He is.
In his whole entire college and pro career. So, and this game obviously taking place on a Saturday. I don't know how much that's going to factor into it. Who you got, and tell me why.
Give me the Chiefs. The Chiefs are rolling here. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I just think that Kansas City is just better, and then it's easy to shut down a Jacksonville team just because they had to crawl back from that. Even the Chargers game, they were down. What was it? They had to come back like at least 20 points, right? It was that comeback was like a 20-point, 21-point comeback or something like that. Just to even get past them in the first round. Like so, I just don't think that they're. I know Patrick Mahomes, and he's been in the playoffs quite a few times, and he's definitely locked in, and he's not losing this first round game to Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not happening. So give me the Chiefs plus a 9.
Okay. How much you want to put? You got 165 to work with. You only got 4 games, so you can go kind of heavy here. How confident are you in your Chiefs?
This is actually the one I'm most confident in. So let me put like so four or so give me 3 other games.
Hmm.
Give me I guess just to make it because and then who else? What are the other games we have? We have
We'll go over them. Just know there's 3 more.
because I don't want to drop the 65 and do 25 down, or because it would be more than 25 down.
Yeah, it'd be 33 down, like 33.
33,
Yeah.
34. So let me do I guess 70
Okay, so let's
or
just
70, 75.
okay, let's do 75, and then you want 30 all the way
Yeah,
down on the
7.
rest of them. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
let's
Okay.
do let's do 75 for the Chiefs here.
Okay, 75 for the Chiefs, 30 all the way down. Got it. Um, yeah, give me the Chiefs as well. I got $200, so it makes kind of easy on me. So I will put 50 on the Chiefs. I think they've got this. I think their best chance to lose is the round after this,
Hmm.
in the conference championship game. So give me the Chiefs. Game number 2 on Saturday is the Giants and the Eagles, division rivalry. Giants played very well against the Vikings. Um,
Yeah.
the Philadelphia Eagles are 7.5-point favorites.
Mm.
Um, your thoughts?
Ugh, hey. I mean, this is gonna be close. This is definitely gonna be close for sure. I just don't know if I feel like I like the 7-point favorite because I see like it being kind of close, tied up, and then I see Jalen Hurts in the last minute or so coming down and punching it in there with AJ Brown or something like that. So I guess I'll take the spread on this one as
Okay,
well. Seven
take the
plus 7
you'll,
with the
you'll-
Eagles.
okay. So the Giants plus the 7.5. Because you're saying the Eagles win by just 7, or are you saying they win by like 3? Or
Yeah, I want to. Yeah,
because they got
that's
to
what I'm
win by
wondering.
8 or more. So
Yeah, so let me get. Yeah, I'll take the.
the
I'll take
Giants.
the Giants plus the 7
Okay,
because I think
okay,
they're going to come down
okay,
and win by like a
okay.
touchdown
Cool,
or
cool.
maybe just a field goal.
All right, I'll take the other side of that just for interesting purposes. I'll take the Eagles minus the 7.5. Sunday, we start off good. 2 Eastern or 2 o'clock Central Time. Sorry, 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock Eastern. Bengals Bills. Bills 5.5 point favorites here. Um,
Damn,
this game they think is gonna be
this is tough.
close.
This is really tough. I don't want to touch this one with a 10-foot pole. Because I see in the 5.5 for the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow's not going out easy. If he's going out, this is gonna be like a field goal win. So I guess Bengals plus the 5.
Okay, Bengals
'Cause
plus.
I
Yeah,
got the Bills winning, but like if the Bills win, it's gonna be a last second field goal, or the Bengals are gonna be up, and then Josh Allen's gonna come down there with Diggs and somehow squeak it in and
win by
only
like.
win by 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this one's gonna
Okay.
Joe Burrow's not, and especially Cincinnati, with how they've already been in the playoffs for the past couple of years, they're not going out easy. They're like, even though it's the Bills, and I think they are the best team, they're the just Cincinnati's not going out easy. That's for sure.
Okay. So you're taking the Cincinnati Bengals plus 5.5, putting 30 on that one, and then
Yeah.
over on my side, I will take the Bills minus the 5.5. Um, I like the Bills by at least 7 here. I think they're clearly a
Mm,
touchdown better than Cincinnati.
okay.
Cincinnati's getting a lot of love right now because of the way they won against
I played good.
Baltimore. If Tyler Huntley doesn't fumble on the 1 yard line and Hubbard doesn't take that thing 99 yards the other way, you're going into OT, if not losing that game because the offense did not
Yeah.
do anything in that second half. Um, but just rough. I want this for the Bills so bad. I think they need
Mhm.
a 7 point win to propel them into that game against what I think is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Um, yeah, I think they're going to need a lot of confidence. I think this game could give it to them. I like Joey B. I like what the Bengals have. The really big thing is, can the Bills keep Jamar Chase out of the conversation? Jamar Chase had like 2 catches against Baltimore. Can the Bills do that?
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like their defense is a little softer. The reason I say
Mhm.
it is if you allow Skylar Thompson to throw for 31 points on the scoreboard, what are you going to allow Joe Burrow to do?
Mhm.
And those deep routes really concern me because I think Jamar Chase has a chance to burn a lot of these defensive backs for Buffalo. And so I'm not confident in this, but I think the Bills need this to give themselves a mental, chance going into that game with Kansas City because that's going to be a tough one. Um, even though that's going to be another home game for them. Um,
Yeah, most definitely.
so that's the only reason why I'm taking the other side because I want to see that, not because I think it's going to
Yeah.
be easy to obtain that goal. But you're not going to
Right.
like this game any better. 49ers only a 4 point favorite over the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you mine. I'm taking the 49ers minus the 4.
Same.
I,
Same.
I don't trust Dak Prescott. I don't trust
Yeah.
this team.
They're gonna
Um,
choke. They're gonna choke.
I
This is their
mean,
week to choke.
I think there was a lot of fool's gold in blowing Tom Brady out in that game this last
They're
week.
way too hype.
I've
Dallas, the fan base is too hype. They're too hype. They're not ready for San Francisco.
No, they're not. And unless Brock Purdy plays like crap,
Yeah.
I think that Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel will lead this team to a victory.
Plus their
Um,
defense. They're
Dallas
gonna
is
shut Dak down.
they should shut him down.
Nick Bosa's gonna get back there.
Oh, Nick Bosa's getting back there. People have been getting back there all season against Dallas. I think this
Yeah.
could be it. And we will probably see the
This is Dallas's
49ers.
choke.
We'll probably see the 49ers and Eagles going
Eagles, yep.
after it next week. I know I'm going chalk with all my picks. I know you're the only one taking these close games with Cincinnati and the Giants, which I have no problem with. I would.
Mhm.
I just the NFL, man, is so weird to me.
You're the best NFL
I'm
picker.
so bad at it. I just feel like, but the thing is, I just feel like these favorite teams like this, they just have. The only game that I really am questioning is really the Cincinnati Bills game. That's the
Mhm.
only one that I'm really like, and I really like it.
Joe Burrow.
The other ones just seem like the talent gap is kind of big there. I mean, I don't have anything against the Giants possibly pulling off a win, if not covering the
They
spread.
could. They
I
could pull that off.
if Saquon plays out of his mind and Jalen Hurts doesn't play well off of injury, I could see
And
that.
and Jones throws it like he did last week.
Yeah, if Danny Dimes is Danny Dimes again this week, the Eagles could be in a very uncomfortable place,
Very trouble.
sitting on the couch, with having the team that they've had this season and what they've done. Do I want to see the Giants play the 49ers? No, I don't think that game would be very close at all. And
Mhm.
God forbid the Giants make it all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't see them really doing much against Buffalo or Kansas City. So that doesn't
No,
really. I, I
that'd be a very very easy win.
it should be. I mean, but a lot of people are really saying that this Giants team could be for real. But I just think those are Giants fans that are drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too much. I mean, because it's like, yeah, if they play like that every week, but have they even done that this season? Like, nah, man. Like, where's the consistency? Like, it's the Giants, man. Like, it's. I think that loss was more on the Vikings choking it off than it was the
They did
Giants
choke.
winning it. Really, I mean, but the Giants played clean football and played well enough to win that game.
Yeah,
And the Vikings couldn't get anything going on that last drive. And when Kirk Cousins is checking it down to his tight end on 4th and 8 because no one can get open, and he doesn't want to get sacked. I understand why you're throwing it to your tight end in the flat, but if that tight end's running like a 10-yard out and you pick
yeah.
up the first down, you're going to look a lot better than picking up 3 yards and turning the ball over and letting the Giants kneel it out. I mean, it was rough. It was rough to watch because I think the Vikings would give the Eagles a little bit better of a game.
Mhm.
I think the Vikings would give the 49ers a little bit better of a game. I
Yeah.
mean, it just didn't pan out that way. And I think that, if we were having Chargers Chiefs discussion this week, I would be a lot more horny because Justin Herbert plays really well
He
against
does.
Patrick Mahomes. Now he doesn't he's only won a couple times, but that game is always a slugfest. And the
Oh yeah.
Chargers have never been blown out by Kansas City with Justin Herbert back there throwing passes. So
Yeah.
and not that Trevor Lawrence couldn't have a good game, but you can't throw 4 picks in the first half against Kansas City and expect to come back against them. They're not going to allow that.
No,
So
no.
you're going to have to play a lot cleaner football. You're going to play more like that second half. You're going to have to play like that first half. You're going to have to keep that kind of momentum going to give yourself a chance. A lot of people, like I
Mhm.
said, like the Jags. I don't think the defense is up to task. Travis
No.
Kelsey is going to go bananas. I mean, if that game is close, good for the Jags, but I just don't see them winning. There's no way. I just can't. I can't do that to
Exactly.
them, and it's hard for me to do that for the Giants as well this week. Um, but I yeah, the Cincinnati game really I struggle with. The 49ers game I shouldn't struggle with, but the fact that that's the lowest spread out of all these just means there's so much money on the Dallas side because those fans are bananas. They think after last week that they are gonna coast. And they're like
They're
we're
gonna
gonna
choke.
we're gonna beat the 49ers because they don't have a starting quarterback, and Dak Prescott's gonna throw for 350, and CeeDee Lamb's gonna go bananas, and then after that we're gonna beat the Eagles because they suck, and then we're gonna go and play the Kansas City Chiefs and give them a run for their money. Like it's just like, no, dude, you are effing crazy. Like
Yeah,
there's just
the people that think Cowboys got this little close to the Super Bowl are so ignorant.
yeah. I think they're a little out there, but that's how we see it right now. Obviously, we'll have more to talk about this next week after these games are played. Um, but that's kind of where it goes. So, um, oof. I don't like doing this either because this ain't fun, brother. Um, but locks of the week here. So we got 3 games. I'm gonna throw one NBA game a piece in here for us
Okay.
because I feel like that's something we kind of hang our hat on. So these games are tonight. So we're gonna have one of these results out of our picks tonight, and the rest 2 will be our NFL picks. So let's go ahead and give our NFL. You got 2 of those. So which ones are you taking as your locks this week?
Give me. Let's do the Chiefs for sure, and then Cowboys. Uh, who the fuck, whoever they're playing on, no, it slipping my mind right now.
49ers minus
Yeah,
4. Okay.
Cowboys. Yeah,
Okay. So I
49ers and the Chiefs versus the Jag.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the 49ers as well, but I'm gonna also go with the Bills. I'm gonna go with the Bills -5.5 as my lock of the week.
Okay.
Um, I'm not, as I said, not confident in it, but for some reason the red and blue, they're gonna get it done. So NBA games tonight. We're gonna get into this. So I'll even let you do the over under in this if you want to. Which is, obviously the two teams combined for points, and they put the total, and they hit it good. If they don't hit it bad. So let me just give you some matchups, and there's not really a lot. There's only 10 games tonight, so not a
Hmm.
ton. But I'll give you a couple that kind of intrigue me, and you can tell me if you want to pick any of them.
Shoot 'em at me.
I've got the Knicks and the Hawks.
Okay.
I've got the Warriors and the Cavs.
Okay.
I've got the Nuggets and the Pacers. I've got the Nets and the Jazz. And I've got Lakers, Grizzlies. I've got Thunder and Kings. And I've got Mavs and the Heat. And the Magic and the Pelicans. And
Give
then
me
the
the
Clippers and Spurs also.
give me give me Denver, Indiana.
Okay, so the spread on that is Denver -9.
Yeah.
And the over-under for point total is 237.5.
Damn. So that's what is that? I need my calculator.
It's like 114 points apiece. They need to score.
Sweet. Okay, I got. I don't see Indiana putting up that much. I guess give me under on that, and then I'll take this.
No,
Right? Yeah, I got.
you only have to take the under or the spread. You don't have to take both.
Oh,
So
okay.
so so you can either do Denver -9 or the over under, which is 237.5. So they need to score at least 114 apiece.
I think Denver is winning by at least 10 here, so I
Okay.
guess I'll take the minus the 9. I guess.
So Denver -9. Okay.
Yeah, because Jokic
Denver
and
-9.
Murray and yeah they're leading the
Pacers.
West. Like they've been hooping.
Yeah, my Nuggets pick for
Yeah, looking good.
for
Looking
finals
good.
looking okay. Um
Yeah.
for me, boy, I the Lakers have not been playing well.
At
Um
all.
yeah, give me the Lakers plus the 6 against Ja Morant. Give me the Lakers plus 6.5 versus Memphis. I don't know what it is, but I just
Yeah,
feel like
man,
after all
Memphis has
these,
been playing great.
so like LA has lost like 5 of their last 7 games by a total of like 10 points.
Hmm.
So they've all been really close. I just feel like this could be the game where LeBron and company win this and kind
Hmm.
of turn not the season around, but at least get a little bit of it. Oh my gosh, the Thunder line just moved. Um,
Mm.
but yeah. So I don't know. I think you know what? No, I can't trust him. I can't trust him. No, can't do it. I can't do it. I back it up. You know what?
I'm dead.
Give me you know what? Give me the Nets plus. Give me the Nets. Wait, do they have? They don't have KD, so not. So that.
KD's out, yeah.
Um, fuck. You know what? Fuck all that. Give me the Mavs plus the 2.
Okay, I figured you were going there.
Mavs plus the 2 versus the Heat.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you sure?
Give me Doncic to
You're
ups.
sure?
Give me Doncic over Butler. Doncic over Jimmy Butler all day long.
Wow, that's a bold pick.
Yeah, and they think this is going to be a low scoring game. They think each team is only going to score around 109. So
Yeah, yeah, that's what I got. But I got Miami for sure.
oof. Ooh, all right,
They've been playing.
We'll see how that pans out tonight.
Good pick though.
I'll see you at work.
That's a good pick though.
They're gonna have it on the TV for sure. I can guarantee you that.
Oh yeah, you're putting that on the screen.
So let's just talk about this before we get out of here, and then we'll conclude. We're only a little over time here. Let's talk about the transfer portal, right? So lots of
Okay.
stuff, college football transfer portal wise, going on. Colorado keeps getting
Yeah.
huge stuff going on.
Who
Uh,
doesn't want to play for prime time?
Yeah, I mean, you had Travis Hunter obviously go from Jackson State to Colorado, and then you have the top 3 corner in the portal switch from his team to Colorado. So, I mean, just more and more people coming to play for Deion Sanders. I
Yeah.
don't see that, stopping anytime soon. Um, right now, in the team transfer rankings, Colorado is number 4 now with 3 4 stars, 9 3 stars, and
Jeez.
1 5 star.
Damn.
Um, they are raking it in. LSU leads the way with 8 4 stars and 2 3 stars, no 5 stars for them. But nobody else has any 5 stars except for Colorado because that's Travis Hunter. So I mean
Mm.
that's the only reason that's probably why they're so high because I don't see in the top 50 teams in the transfer portal being ranked, they're the only ones with a 5 star. So
Yeah.
so that's why they're kind of up there. Florida State's at number 2 with 7 4 stars and 2 3 stars. USC is at 5 with 6 4 stars and 4 3 stars. A lot of those again coming on the defensive side of the football, which is great. Um, and then let's see. Then it goes SMU with 2 4 stars, but 14 3 star commits
Damn.
going to SMU. So the Pony Express in full effect down there in Dallas. Wisconsin has 10 3 stars and 2 4 stars. Michigan 5 4 stars and 2 3 stars. Then
You think
OU
SMU
then
has the? My bad. Sorry to interrupt. You think SMU's got them boosters back?
probably I would say 100%. And then OU rounds out the top 10 with 4 4 stars and
Hey,
four
Boomer,
and
Boomer,
four three
Boomer.
stars. And my Ducks come in at 11 with 5 4 stars and 2 3 stars. So, um, as far as like by conference, Big 12, the top 2 teams are OU and OSU as far as transfers go. Both of them have 4 stars, but OU just has one more 3 star. They got 4 and OSU has 3. TCU comes in at number 3. And then you have Baylor, Kansas, Kansas State, Texas, and Iowa State at the bottom with just one 3 star transfer. So, um, look, we can talk about this probably all day long, but I'm not going to get long winded. Um, we've had some big names move around, right? Um, my question to you is with Colorado getting all these guys, where do you see the Buffaloes being at the end of next season? Because a lot of the fans or non-fans online are still saying, "Oh, this team's going to go 1-11 still, or 3-8." I mean, they,
Crazy.
they they think that this Colorado team is only going to win 4 conference games this season. Um, and this based on a video that was put out by Barstool Sports. It was obviously to antagonize football fans. It was Deion Sanders' son throwing like a 55-yard pass in a dome,
Mhm.
no pads on, to a non-padded receiver, and they were like, "Oh, is he going to be winning the Heisman next year?" Which they
Yeah.
just wanted a discussion. I don't think he's going to be anywhere close to the Heisman discussion next season. I think you're still going to have Caleb Williams in that discussion. You'll still have Sam Hartman in that discussion. You'll have a lot of the same guys in the discussion, just minus Stetson Bennett and minus Bijan Robinson, minus Max Duggan. So I mean,
DJ Stroud,
yeah,
he
you won't
declared.
you won't have those guys, but you know I think right now you're looking at either Marshawn Lloyd, the transfer from South Carolina, the running back that's going to USC. He could be in the conversation with Caleb Williams. Um, I think that Sam Hartman transferring to Notre Dame gives him a lot of chance to be in that conversation. He
Mhm.
was a really good quarterback at Wake Forest. I just don't think he had the team around him. I think he does now. So I think that really helps him out. Um, you're gonna see Devin Leary in the conversation again, the NC State guy that transfers to Kentucky. He'll be in the conversation for the first few weeks. He'll probably drop off. Um, a lot of people think Hudson Card could have a chance. Being in Purdue and being able to that's definitely an improvement for their quarterback situation, but I don't know if it's Heisman worthy. Spencer Sanders goes to Ole Miss.
He's
Is
gonna be
that
up there.
is that going to be in the conversation? I think it will be.
I
Um,
think you'll see Dylan Gabriel as well in the
yes, you'll
conversation.
you'll see Dylan Gabriel in the conversation as a dark horse. Probably you won't see him in the main conversation, but as the season goes on, he will grow into the conversation. And another player I think that could be in that conversation is Bo Nix, and
Mhm.
another player. And this people might get mad at me that think it will be DJ Uyunglele at Oregon State. I
Right.
think he will be in the conversation. Cam Rising for Utah will be in the
Cam
conversation.
Rising.
Um, but those are like 10 guys that'll be in the discussion before the season starts.
Yeah.
Is Shadir Sanders one of those guys? I don't know. I haven't seen anything on
Yeah.
him. He looks a little scrawny to me. Um, he does. He looks tiny to me. He's 6'1", 198, but he doesn't look it. He looks very lean for 198. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Those football players, they're never really gonna say like they'll say a weight that they've been weighed in at, but they're never gonna tell you their true weight. He's probably like a buck 85.
yeah, if that. I'm thinking buck 80, like a buck 80. Like I mean
Yeah, he might
he
be
but by the time the season starts, could he be 185?
two
Probably. I
days.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they'll bulk up. But right now he doesn't look like somebody that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Heisman candidate. Could he make his way into the conversation? Yes. Um,
Hmm.
but let's take a look here.
That's a good question though. I mean, as far as Colorado goes, I saw their schedule yesterday and I was impressed. Like they're starting off, I believe, with TCU. Like they're getting ready, and I think, of course, with Dion being a good as head of coach as he is, I see them at the end of the year. I got them at least. I think they're at least gonna win 7 games, but I'm gonna go ahead and give them 8 wins and 4 losses.
Yeah. So
And I think that'll get them in the top 25, which will obviously get Dion his clout that he's about to deserve, or obviously already deserves, and he's getting the clout hyped up right now. But they'll see why they're paying him all this money because I think that record is going to move Colorado into the top 25. It's going to continue to bring them better recruits, and then they're going to get a good bowl game. I definitely don't see them. I don't think they're going to make it to the Big 12 or
let's
Pac-12
let's let's put let,
championship,
let's
but
put let's put your let's put this to the test. I got the schedule right in
yeah.
front of me. You ready?
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear. Yeah, yeah.
So starts out with TCU, win or loss.
So does TCU have Duggan and those guys coming back?
I don't know.
If because I don't know how many guys TCU is losing.
Let's see. TCU players leaving.
Because if Duggan's gone, then you got Chandler Morris back there, and then you got still some weapons, but you got that NFL guy or the guy who just declared the receiver going to the NFL, I believe, right?
Boo, 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 boo. Who is
They're definitely not going 1-11. That's for sure. Like the people that say that are ignorant. Like they already are changing the culture up there, and they're definitely got a great head coach, and that's what you need. And then I don't think
yeah.
Shador.
So Duggan's going to the draft. So
Okay,
so
fair
so
enough.
he's gone. That's all I needed to know. So win or loss for Colorado week 1. Uh,
Give me a win.
on the
Give me a
road.
win.
Okay, see, so
Give me
that's
a win.
one. That's one.
Give me a
Second
win.
one's Nebraska.
Give me a win.
So 2-0. Colorado State
Win.
3-0. Oregon
Yeah.
Ducks.
They're gonna start off hot, and then they're gonna lose that Oregon game,
Okay, so losing to Oregon, then they got USC the next week after that.
and then they're going back to back. No, wait. Because USC's defense is that's gonna be a close one, but
That's on my
give
birthday in Boulder.
wow.
Yeah, that
Give me. Oh my gosh, it really depends on how. This is really way too early to tell, but I mean, it just depends how USC's defense comes back. But I give me Colorado with the upset. So give me
okay.
four and
So
one
4-1. Arizona State
win
5-1. Stanford
win.
6-1. Then they have a bye week. Then they have UCLA.
That'll be a loss. They're gonna lose like one of those
Okay,
mid-season
so
games.
7-2. Then you got Oregon
Yeah,
State.
win
Okay, so 8-2. Arizona
win.
9-2. Washington State.
And then it's gonna be like they're gonna have one loss at the end too. So that's I'll say that one's their
Okay,
loss.
so 8-3, and then Utah.
Another loss because
So
they're gonna
eight.
lose.
So 8-4.
Yeah,
8-4.
yeah. That's what I got them at.
Eight
That's what I
eight
got
and
them at.
four
Yeah,
with probably with if they beat USC, that's a big win.
yeah.
If they
They're gonna
beat
have a big win, but they're also gonna have like 2 or 3 bad, like a mid-season loss, and then 2 end of the season losses, and they're like they're gonna be in that discussion, and then it's gonna be like, oh, then they fell off, but then they still had a good
Yeah,
record. So I like 8-4.
yeah. So 8-4 is your prediction. Let me see what the Colorado win total
And
odds
that'll
20.
get them a good bowl game. That'll get them a really good bowl game.
Let's see. Um, so sports books right now have, and this may shock you a little bit. This came out December 8th though. This has got to have changed by now. Where can we see oh, I don't need that. Go back. From 115. So on December 8th, the win total was 5.5, right? That had to have
I guarantee you that
had
went
to
up.
have gone up. Had to have gone up. There's no way. Let's see.
I'm guessing that the sports booking people are probably putting them at like 7-5 or like 6-6. That's what I'm gonna guess. Just because they're new, they're fresh, and their schedule is tough. Like they're not playing a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, they're not.
But I like them at 8-4. I like that way better than a 500 season or even a 7-5.
They've got to have a better. Let me see if DraftKings has. I don't think they've got it out yet. Let's see. 2023. So the 2023-2024 national championship odds are out. And let's see if they're even on this list. Colorado is 20,000 to 1 to win the national title next year, which I feel like that's probably correct.
Yeah, they're not winning the national championship.
Yeah, that's the only they don't have a win total really for teams yet on DraftKings, but I know somewhere they have a summer. But right now, as of December 8th, it looks like 115 odds have them going with 5.5 wins. I just feel like that's kind of weird.
That's low.
I mean, that's December 8th though. Like, why?
Yeah.
See what they said. Yeah, I mean, this article says they might win 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's what I thought that would say.
8-4 is not bad though. I don't hate 8-4 as a total because I agree with you. I think you have a win against TCU, win against Nebraska, win against Colorado State, lost against Oregon, but I think you lose to USC, then you win a bunch of them, and then you probably lose to either UCLA and Utah, and that's how you would get 8-4 instead. But I could see them losing to UCLA. I could see them losing to Washington State and Utah in back-to-back weeks. If they start off the season, they're going to 5-0. If they start off the season 5-0, they're in a really good spot.
Yeah,
they'll be in the top 10 if they win the first 5 games. They will move their way into the top 10, and then they'll either lose to a team like UCLA or Oregon State, and then they'll drop off again. But I really think 7 or 8 wins is probably likely. These people that are saying 3 wins or 1 win, I mean, you're just a hater at this point. I think you're just angry because a really good like celebrity-esque coach came in and and took a bunch of players and got rid of a bunch of players, and you're just kind of angry that it didn't happen to your team. I think that's really
Yeah.
kind of what it is. But here's some interesting stuff for you. We'll give you some of these odds. So Georgia is plus 260 to repeat, which is the best odds to win. Alabama comes in second with plus 500 to win. Then you have Ohio State and Michigan rounding out your top four. USC still 1,400 to 1 to win. So if you bet $10, you could win 14 grand if they go all the way. You get to bet $10 on Clemson, you could win 16 grand.
Jeez.
I mean, OU right now is 5,000 to 1. So you could win 50 G's if you bet $10 today. TCU's even at worst odds plus 6,000. So I mean, with those players leaving, I think that's probably right. Oregon is plus 3,500, so they got a decent chance, but they're still in the top 10 of the discussion.
Yeah,
they've got the same odds as Penn State as making it, which I think might be a little wild. And the worst odds to win is Louisiana Tech and so it goes Colorado State, Western Michigan, UTEP, Central Michigan, Ball State, Arkansas State, UMass, Texas State, Hawaii, Akron, Louisiana Monroe, New Mexico, Louisiana Tech, and FIU all have 100,000 to 1 odds to win.
Let's drop a dub on New Mexico.
Yeah, let's just drop a tenner on New Mexico and hope the Lobos pull it out. A lot of like 50,000 to 1. Like, I mean, this is one of those where it's like it's easy to know which teams not to fucking bet on. Like, you just know, like, if I'm betting on this team, I'm throwing my money away. But I think the best odds of making the most money and possibly winning a national title is probably like USC, right? I mean 1,400 to 1, but I
gotta see how their defense is.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is even with a shit defense, you only lost 3 games. Like that's so if it's just a little marginally better, you probably beat Utah both of those times because the second time you only lost to Utah because Caleb Williams was hurt, and the first time you only lost because of a 2-point conversion. So, I mean, I think that USC's defense has already gotten a possession better. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll probably allow 1 scoring drive less than they did this season. I think they've at least improved that much. So,
definitely. Yeah,
so
I gotta see how they do.
I think if I were to bet money and I wanted to win money, that's probably the team I would bet on. Now,
I would drop it on Bama.
But I'm saying that gives you the most money because Bama just gives you plus 500. So I mean, like, yeah, you bet 10. If you bet 10, you're still getting 5 G's. But I mean, like, you know, I think that of teams that, you know, could give you a big payday. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I drop $10 on USC, I could win 14 G's. Like, I mean, like that would be worth it to me. You know, I mean, but like, I'm not gonna go and drop $10 on, you know, not even my Ducks. I mean, 3,500 to 1, and I gotta beat USC and I gotta beat Utah. Like, and I might have to play them twice. Like, fuck that. Like, I don't think that's that thing. I think we're looking at Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl area for us next season. I'm not even worried about that. Yeah. I mean, where's Ole Miss at? That's what I want to see. Where's Ole Miss at? Because I don't see them making it out, but I just want to see, with the addition of Spencer Sanders, where is Ole Miss at? Like, they got to be.
It's definitely an advantage because
they're 8,000 to 1. They're 8,000 to 1.
And then is Kiffin still head coach?
Yeah.
So they're gonna. I like Ole Miss to even be in that discussion for that championship game this year. I think they're gonna play great
for like the SEC championship game.
Yeah, you got a veteran quarterback coming in with Lane Kiffin as the coordinator for it. Like, that's going to be dangerous. And they've already had weapons because they've already had some good wins this past season. So I mean, I think that's only going to help them adding Spencer Sanders. So that should be, I wouldn't say championship game, but they're definitely going to be like right there whenever they're trying to discuss all that. Like, Ole Miss is going to have, they're going to be up there. They're not going to be at the bottom. Ole Miss is going to be at
the only thing that hurts them is they're on the same conference side as Alabama. So you're gonna have to win some big games if you're gonna want to. You have to beat Alabama if you want to come out of I mean, LSU did it last year, so I'm not saying Ole Miss can't do it. Um, and that was enough to get them to the SEC title game. They've got a plus 1,800 chance to win the national title. I don't know if I
Hmm.
particularly like that, but they are the top team in the transfer portal right now. And I mean, I think that they had a lot of recruits like flip to like other teams and stuff this last week. So it just kind of depends. But these are current and these stay up to date and they move and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
obviously, these will move as the season goes on, but I think right now, I think USC is probably your best if you're trying to like make the most money, like which you
Yeah.
would take a
Agreed.
risk on. That's probably it. I don't really see like the other teams that are around them. You have Clemson, LSU, Florida State, Texas, and Tennessee, and I don't know if any of those teams really intrigue me as like, oh yeah,
No.
they got a chance. I think US USC's got the best. I think out of all of those teams as far as low odds, but not insane, and they could sneak in there. Um, I wouldn't want to
I
see
like
it,
that.
but I mean, I think that, I mean, I could see somebody putting money on OU.
Hmm.
Plus 5,000. I mean that seems like a big number, but you got to think OU lost 5 out of their 7 games by a possession or less.
Hmm.
Of course, one of those is the bowl game, but the other 4 are conference games. And if they had won those conference games, they would have been playing TCU in the Big 12 title game. Now that just would have put them in a game with Alabama, and they probably would have got trounced just like Kansas State did. But
Yeah.
it would have put them in the same driver's seat that Kansas State was in. Um, and I think that when you're 5 losses and 5 possessions away from being 11-3 instead, or 11-4 instead of 6-7.
Hmm.
I think that's 11-3 or something like that. I don't know. It was 10-4. I think it was 10-4 or something like that is what it would have been. You would have had double digit wins, and I
Hmm.
think that OU has gotten better to the degree of being able to flip those losses to Texas Tech and Kansas State and West Virginia. I think all of those are easily wins next season because I think they have
Yeah.
gotten a possession better on both sides of the ball. Uh, and I think the transfer portal has a lot to do with that. You're a top 10 transfer portal team. You got a good recruiting class in. You have the talent to be in the conversation of the college football playoff next season if your season gets off to a good start. So,
Cool.
if you wanted to really put money, OU has a big chance. They say Texas has a better chance, but I don't know. Texas is plus 2,200. They think Texas has a better chance than OU. I don't know about that. Um, I think that might be a bad bet to take. I think OU's
Yeah.
probably
I
winning
have
the
no
Big
clue
12
about
this
anything
season.
about Texas.
I think OU wins the Big 12 one last time before leaving the SEC. I think that's just kind of what we're kind of set up for. And will that be enough to get into the college football playoff? I don't know, because you could easily see them losing 2 conference games and still getting to
Yeah.
getting that Big 12 title under their belt. I mean, because
Right.
I mean, I don't think you lose to Texas this season if Dylan Gabriel plays. You're obviously not losing to TCU because they don't have Max Duggan, and I think that
They lost
team's
like a bunch
makeup
of their
has
guys.
completely changed.
Yeah.
You don't have the OC there. Garrett Riley is gone. So I mean, it's not the same team,
Hmm.
and so I think that's a win.
They do have good recruits coming in, but it's not going to be
It's
enough.
not going to be enough. No, their recruiting class is still in like the 50s. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not great. Transfer portal's been decent. They're like a top 20 transfer portal team. They got those 3-star wide receivers from Alabama
Hmm.
that transferred over, but without Max Duggan, who's throwing them the foot, Chandler Morris is going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Chandler
mean,
Morris.
he's not bad. He was the starter coming in
He's
last
not
season
that
before he
good.
got hurt, but he's
He's
not.
not that
I mean,
good.
if he was really that good, they would have pulled Max out once he replaced him. I
Yeah.
mean, it wouldn't have been a conversation. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So that's, I mean, that's what I think the transfer portal is leading to. And if you want to bet Colorado to get to the national championship, go ahead and bet all your
Put your
money
money
because
down. Yeah.
it's not looking pretty for them. They are way down there. They're with the Oklahoma States of the world and such. They're down there because people really like what they're doing, but I don't see them being in the conversation except for early on in the season. If they go 5-0, they're going to be in the conversation, but I think I'm with you. They're going to lose a couple games that they probably shouldn't, and
Hmm.
I think that's what's probably going to do them in. Um, I mean, what did I say that what did I say their odds were? Was it like something crazy? Because I don't freaking see
Which team was that?
Colorado. I don't know what
Oh yeah, they're kind of a little bit back for sure.
they got to be way down here, right? Like it's got to
It
be
was like
better.
50.
It's got to
It was
be
like 50 something.
yeah. It's got to be better than Colorado State. So I'm guessing it's up here with like the 50,000 to one type
Yeah, that's what I'm
type
pretty sure it was at 50,000.
type people. So yeah, but that's gonna do it for us this week.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back next week to recap these NFL games. We'll keep you up to date on stuff like this throughout the season. Um, and we'll get into some college basketball next week. March is
Yeah,
coming fast, so we got that stuff to look for, and of course the NBA season technically to its halfway point. So we'll keep you guys up to date on that.
for
For
sure.
Will Warner, Cole Murphy, any last words before we get out of here?
No, sir.
All right.
Just good season, good football season.
Yep, it was. And more NFL action to come. And we'll see you next week.